Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Google Pixel 10 and compare it against the Google Pixel 9 and see which particular device is the better one for you. Now, I will tell you, from what I've seen, from what I've personally used so far, both of these phones are very interesting because they are both very similar in a lot of different ways. If you have all the money in the world, then definitely go ahead and upgrade to the Pixel 10. It is a better device. But from what I can see, the Pixel 9 is very similar to the Pixel 10. There are some key differences, but for the most part, if you have a Pixel 9, I definitely would recommend keeping it. But even if you don't own a Pixel 9, I think there's still a lot of value in buying something like a Pixel 9 over a Pixel 10, especially considering that it's a couple $100s cheaper in the used market. So we'll take a look at it throughout this whole entire video. But if you do want to go ahead and pick up either one of these phones or some other phones I'd recommend buying this year, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these devices. The Google Pixel 9 originally came out back last year, so it just came out in 2024, and it really is a pretty newer type of device. It's not really that old, and within the last year, it's still been holding up very, very well. I love being able to go through and buying something like a Google Pixel 10, but the Pixel 9 is still giving you a really good type of performance, and I feel like there's not really that much to hate on it here from that type of device from that standpoint. I feel like that type of device is still a really, really good type of phone, and if you're going to go through and buy any type of phone, the Pixel 9 is still giving you a pretty good experience for sure. But with the Pixel 10, this one is probably going to be a little bit of a nicer type of device for some people. So with something like the Pixel 10, you have to remember that that type of device is going to be the successor to the Pixel 9. So in some ways it's going to be better. In some other ways, maybe people won't even remember or even really notice how much better this phone is in some ways. With something like the Pixel 10, this is the thing with this device. It's going to be giving you a 6.3-inch OLED display. So it's the same size display. It's going to be giving you 120 Hz as well. The brightness is slightly tweaked though. So with something like the Google Pixel 10, you're going from 2700 nits of peak brightness to 3000 nits of peak brightness. So that right there is already a slight difference. And if you're going to go through and, pick up a device, this is going to be one of the big differences here and one of the main changes you're going to be getting going from one device to the other. So from a display perspective, that's going to be one of the main ways to kind of tell which device you have, but it's really not even that big of a takeaway because it's not like you can look at the brightness of a panel and think to yourself, oh, that's 3000 or that's 2000 nits of peak brightness. It's kind of tougher to tell. Both are going to be giving you USB Type-C ports at the bottom. On the back side, they're both giving you these glass backs, which feel very premium. I love having these types of glass backs and they feel and look really, really good. You're getting these dual camera setups. The Pixel 10 does give you this Qi2 wireless charging, so it gives you more of that MagSafe magnetic type of clasp on the backside, which is really nice to have. That is one of its bigger types of achievements and one of its biggest types of improvements coming from the Pixel 9. But again, I don't know if that would necessarily be a big reason why I would go and upgrade from a Pixel 9 to a Pixel 10, right? There's got to be something more than that, especially if you're spending all that money for it. Beyond that though, they're very, very similar. So the big takeaway here is that if you're looking at it just strictly from a design perspective, you're not really able to go through and kind of see, what the main differences are, right? They're both very similar. And I feel like that right there is just another one of those really big things to keep in mind there as well. So if you're going to go through and pick up a device, I definitely will tell you something like a Pixel 10 is probably going to be giving you the overall better experience, but I still feel like something like a Pixel 9 is still very good and it's very, very similar when it comes down to it for sure. So from that particular side as well, I feel like that's another one of those really big things to keep in mind there for the most part too. Now when it comes down to their cameras, this is also another very similar type of layout here. So they're both giving you these dual camera setups. The megapixel count on the Google Pixel 10 for the most part, because it is giving you this kind of triple camera setup for the most part, it is going to be giving you a little bit of a nicer type of edge to it, which is nice. So you are getting that kind of camera setup on the Pixel 10 that is better, but with the Pixel 10, you're also getting 4K at 60 on the front and the back, and you're getting the same thing on the Pixel 9 as well. So from a resolution perspective, you are getting a very similar type of resolution and a good type of experience on something like a Google Pixel 10, which is really good. And it is probably overall better than the Pixel 9, right? If you're going to go through and pick up a phone, it probably would make more sense to go through and buy something like a Pixel 10. But I still think the Pixel 9's camera is still pretty decent. You're still able to go through and get a good type of layout, a good type of experience within that type of device too. So again, it really just kind of depends on how you're going to kind of take a look at it. but I feel like if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, both these devices do a good job. But if you're wanting the overall better experience, it might just be from something like a Google Pixel, 9, from the Pixel 10 for sure for the most part. When it comes down to software longevity, this is also going to be another key takeaway. If you're wanting the device that is going to be giving you an overall better type of experience from a software perspective, again, it's going to be the Pixel 10, but it's only going to be the Pixel 10 by a little bit. It's not going to be like this massively big type of difference. It's going to be very, very similar. And I feel like if you're going to go through and pick up a device, you're going to be getting very similar types of experiences between both. And I feel like that right there is another one of those big things to keep in mind there as well. Because yes, you're going to be getting some extra better type of capability, but you're still going to be getting similar type of longevity. And if a phone lasts for 6 years or 7 years right now, it's not really going to be that big of a difference, at least not to me. So from that side too, I think that's another one of those big things to keep in mind there as well. Now, on top of that, when you kind of take a look at some other things behind these devices too, another really important thing to keep in mind here as well is that with something like the Google Pixel 9, this device is going to be giving you still a pretty big size battery. It's going to be 4,700 mAh. With something like the Google Pixel 10, it's going to be giving you a slightly better type of experience there, right? So with the Pixel 10, it's going to be almost 5,000 mAh. So from a performance perspective, again, that right there, it's going to be another nice thing to have inside of that type of device when it comes down to it as well. When it comes down to the performance, the Google Pixel 9 is going to be giving you the Tensor G4 chipset, where the Pixel 10 is going to be giving you the Tensor G5 chipset. Both give you 12 gigabytes of RAM, so nothing is really super crazy from that standpoint. They're both very similar from that particular situation as well. So again, it just kind of depends on how you're going to kind of take a look at it. But I feel like both these devices do give you an overall pretty good experience. And there's not really anything super insane going on here. But if you are about to go through and pick up a device, again, to me, it probably would make a lot more sense to go through and buy something like a Pixel 10 because it's faster. But still to this day, I'm still not the biggest fan of these Tensor chipsets. And I feel like, a Snapdragon chipset is definitely going to be a much better type of experience, right? Like that one is going to be the one that's going to be giving you the overall better type of experience for a lot of people. And that right there is going to be a pretty big takeaway. And although it's not the biggest deal in the world, like I said before, if you're about to go through and pick up a device, I think it would make a lot of sense to go through and buy a device that's going to be giving you a slightly better type of experience. And with something like the Google Pixel 10, that one is kind of the one that would make more sense. But even at that point, I feel like the Google Pixel 10, it's very good and it's giving you a really good experience. But to be honest with you, I feel like for a lot of people, with something like a Google Pixel 10, this device is still probably not as good as something like a Galaxy S25. I feel like a phone like a Galaxy S25 is probably going to be giving you an overall better type of experience for some people. And I feel like that's the one that kind of keeps coming back to me because I look at that type of device and I look at the Google Pixel 10 and it's like if the Pixel 10 had a Tensor chip, like a Snapdragon chipset, I feel like that one would be the one that'd be giving you a much better experience. But because it's not, we're kind of stuck in a situation where a device like that, it's good and it's great and it's giving us a good experience, but there's just better devices out there for the money. And now that the Galaxy S25 has already been out for a little bit of time, I feel like that one makes more sense to buy rather than this one. So from that side too, that kind of covers it up there as well. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.